You know, it's odd when you look back at the world of entertainment because if you cast your mind back to 1946, yes, and don't look at me like you must remember that well, Neil. I don't remember 1946 well, but in 1946, over here in the United Kingdom, can you imagine 31 plus people literally every single week visited their cinema? So whether that be a Gaumont, Odeon, Regal, you name it, everybody was queuing up around the block in that particular period to see all those big icons of that particular era. You know, the likes of Hedy Lamarr, James Mason, Googie Withers. Yeah, who remembers Within These Walls? Do you remember that? Googie Withers, the original Prisoner Cell Block H, wasn't it? But as I say, in 1946, it was a banner year for the cinema industry. But then a member of the British monarchy, well, really upset the main people who ran the British cinema. As ever, let me explain. Hi, how are you? Let's see you. You all right? Yes, nice to have your company today. When you think about British cinema, I know that the big ones like 20th Century Fox, Paramount, MGM, Republic, you know, all of those, RKO. I love the RKO thing, didn't you? You can see that I've mirror imaged that on my logo, can't you? Of course you can. You're the educated ones, I can spot it, yes. But you see, when you think about the British cinema, we had things like Elstree and, of course, you know, Boreham Wood, Ealing Films. There was a big industry over here. In fact, you can actually live in the flats now where the original Gaumont studios were in Shepherd's Bush. I know, can you imagine all the stars that have trod that floor, and now you could be having a shower in the same room? It's frightening. But cast your mind back, as I say, to 1946, and then furthermore to the year of the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. You see, what happened, as we all know, is that the Duke of Edinburgh very cleverly got the BBC to decide to broadcast live the coronation. And this was a huge event, as you can imagine. Everybody up and down the land decided to buy television sets for the very first time. In fact, many people said it was the first thing they ever saw on television. There were street parties, people making teas and coffees, having literally everybody around those small, tiny Bush TV 9-inch screens with a flickering black and white, looking at a very rainy London and all the carriages and all the hullabaloo in Westminster Abbey. But you see, bosses at all the major cinemas over here in the United Kingdom were not too thrilled. They in fact cited that it was the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, that really hastily declined cinema attendances. You can understand this really because when you think about it, the moment people bought television, they suddenly got free entertainment. They didn't need to queue up in the rain, and they did not need to, of course, wait for the pathy newsreel. You see, cinema had already put in an application to make sure that they could screen the coronation first on the big screens of the Odeons and the Gaumonts. That deal was already in place. But by the time the BBC and Prince Philip had got together, that whole deal was scrapped. And for many years, many people truly, particularly in the world of cinema, decided to blame the Duke of Edinburgh. It wasn't his fault, of course. It's technology. It's how time moves on. And without his fortuitous thinking, we never would have had the documentation that we have today. But it's interesting to note, isn't it? Even when you think about how time does move on, technology, digital platforms, whatever we're in today, someone somehow gets the blame for moving in time. As ever, I'd love to know what you thought to the golden age of cinema, and more importantly, were you crowded round that small television screen to see our late and wonderful monarch for the very first time, quite literally moving. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.